Hi, hello, hi, and welcome to all our hearts and minds. Thank you again for tuning in. We are here to discuss all things that have been on our hearts and minds, the good and the bad, the concerning and uplifting, or just straight talk. We're your hosts, Kimmy, our passionate heart,
Yeah.
and then there's me, Jeanette, our mind and chronic overthinker. Let's get into it.
All right.
Okay, another week back with another episode. Let's just jump into it. Girl, how are you
Mm-hmm.
doing? Let's get into the checkup.
I'm okay. I'm doing all right. This week I'm not gonna complain. I don't want to complain, so I
Okay.
didn't complain. And
Yeah.
no, but it was a pretty okay week. I
Okay, that's
mean,
good.
nothing really to write home about. Everybody's doing well. Everybody's okay.
Uh-huh.
So I can't complain. How about you? How was your week?
My week was okay, outside of everything outside of work frustrations.
Yep.
everything, you know,
Mm-hmm.
everything was everything's doing is going okay. I would say it's going okay. It's going. It's going.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say put it that way.
Right?
Okay, so well, I mean, we may not be super exuberant about anything particularly this week, but there's also nothing really bringing us down, which is also a good thing.
That's a great thing.
It's
Thank
a
you.
great thing. It's a yeah. So okay. So it sounds like we're doing all right. Before I jump into the headlines, a weekly reminder: everybody listening, anybody within volume hearing of my voice, please remember to engage with the podcast on whichever platform that you listen to, whether you like it, whether you download it, whether you start, whether you add a comment, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you listen to the podcast, please engage so we get to hear from you some way or another. And
Right?
so we're on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, so you can always hit us up. And we also have our
Yes, holla back, please.
We also
Mm-hmm.
have our email in our show description as well if you want to send us a note. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So, first headline, we will jump into some local news for us in Canada. One of
Mm-hmm.
one of our previous prime ministers, our country's leaders. We don't have presidents, we have prime ministers. So, he passed away, Brian Mulroney, this week at the age of 84, and it's crazy for some reason. Like, first of all, I always remember him as a kid, but I didn't know how far back that he was
Mm-hmm.
prime minister. They said 19 he was in office from 1984 to 1993. I was like,
Long
damn,
time.
that was a
Long
long
time.
time. But I guess maybe the time that I was hearing about him, I had a second grade, it would have been second grade, somewhere around there. I had a second grade teacher who was really into highlighting, I guess what we call it, social science, or any social science, when you're learning about all these like different things in
Right.
society. So I always vividly remember Brian Mulroney for a lot of things. Just like, obviously I was like really young, but I do remember his name as a child, as an elementary school student.
Mm-hmm.
And what I was surprised to find out when I was reading up on him is, for some reason, I always thought he was a liberal, but he was actually a conservative. He was a leader of the Conservative Party.
Mm-hmm.
So that was something new that I picked up on. And he was also one of the prime ministers that kind of started having the conversation on how we regulate or legislate abortion
Mm-hmm.
in Canada. So maybe that's why it could have popped up in my memory of Canadian leaders. But
Mm-hmm.
he was always involved in Canada, and I think he was also a part of the governor general board. I don't know if he was a governor general, but I know he was definitely a part of like making the decisions on who would
Mm-hmm.
get that role. And I was just trying to find out his cause of death. Okay, so he had suffered. His health was declining, and he was recovering. He had prostate cancer, so
Mm-hmm.
it looks like that was probably one of the key reasons that his health declined. And yeah, he passed away February 29th in Florida. So R.I.P. to him, and his funeral will be in his province of birth, which is actually Quebec. Another thing I didn't know.
Oh,
Okay,
he's a
R.I.P. Brian
Quebecer,
Mulroney.
eh?
Yeah, he's a
Okay. I
Quebecer.
didn't know that part.
Yeah,
That I
he
didn't
seems
know.
like a very much a standard English speaking Canadian, right?
Very much so. I would have never thought Quebec. I would have thought
Yeah.
like maybe out more west, maybe
Yes.
Alberta or Winnipeg or something like that.
Hmm. Hmm.
But oh, that's interesting to know. Well, learning a little bit about you. RIP to you, and thank you for your service to our country, particularly Ontario. And so it's sad to hear that he's gone, but
Hmm.
he left his stamp in Canadian
Yeah,
history, which is awesome.
he had a huge legacy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Definitely did.
we'll move on to some ratchet news. I wonder
Thank
what people say.
God. Thank God
Mhm.
Black History Month is done. So we can
Yeah.
get back to our ratchetness. Jesus.
Yeah, yeah, we were trying
Because
to balance. We wanted to not get too messy in February for Black History Month, so we now we're gonna get down with the mess.
hey, we are a messy people. Okay. Shoot. That's just who we are. Like, just
So
call it a spade. Mm-hmm.
after last week on our workout session in our last episode, we were talking about the big epic TikTok saga following Risa Tessa
Mm-hmm.
on TikTok, where it's titled "Who the fuck did I
Did I
marry?"
just put all of her beeswax on the thing? Like,
Yeah.
just put everything. Jeez, man. Mm.
So, and we, as we were talking about, that's like a whole I don't know, 5 to 6 hour saga. If you really were to try and digest all that content, ain't nobody got time for that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, it's definitely a very engaging story. And so earlier this week, as the story was making its round around social media, the Breakfast Club was reporting on it,
Mm-hmm.
and for some reason, Charlemagne the God, Charlemagne the God just came out swinging when
Right? Jeez.
Jess brought up the story. He out of nowhere, he's like, "Is this some? This sounds like big back behavior."
Oh my God.
That's pretty much what he said, and he kind of went in a little bit
Mm.
and divulged in that direction of his I guess insights on the situation. And he's like, I don't know what she looks like or who this is, but it sounds like big back behavior. And then
Mm.
Jess is like what, like, trying to like contain and kind of like, come on now, like she did kind of one of those, come on now, like let's not. And he kind of just went with it. He's like, and then he just stopped. He's like, is she a big back? Well, she's like, yeah, she's bigger, but that's Jess. But anyway, Charlemagne kind of went in and he kind of reverted to his old ways. And then Ts Madison saw that episode and everything, and she decided that she was gonna kind of call out Charlemagne for his comments on describing the woman, the big back comment, basically, call it that,
Mm-hmm.
right? And basically she said, is Charlemagne gonna are we gonna I'm paraphrasing right now, but she pretty much said, are we going to call out Charlemagne, right, to the big backs? He's like, are we gonna cave in Charlemagne's face or something like that because of his comments? And then she pretty much put a hashtag saying, pretty much saying, feeling that, I don't remember what the exact hashtag is, but she's basically saying, okay, I consider myself a big back, and and that's why she's jumping in to the conversation. But I did feel that the tweet was very pretty violent,
Mm-hmm. It
and
was.
basically she was calling to incite violence on Charlemagne the God for his comment. And then the thing has now spiraled into this whole thing with just with Jess, because when after she made that tweet, the following day, just hilarious was like, okay, why are we inciting violence? And if the tables were turned and we were talking about the trans community, or said something about caving anybody's face in from the trans community, they would most definitely, the Breakfast Club, have been canceled, and it would be and rightfully so. A lot of people would be
Mm-hmm.
in an uproar, right?
Right.
And so that's what Jess said, basically saying like there's a double standard here, and why are you trying to incite violence over a stupid comment?
Right.
And she came back now. What's her name? What's her name?
Ts.
Ts Madison. Yes, Ts Madison
Mm-hmm.
now was now trying to misgender Jess, hilarious, and saying Miss Hilarious. Let me explain something to you. I don't give a f. I didn't f your nig. I didn't f your nigga. Those other punks did. I wasn't sucking. Oh my gosh, it got very. It got kind of. I don't even want.
Vulgar.
It's very vulgar. Now that I'm saying, I'm not even going to read it, but pretty much she came for Jess and misgendered her and basically insinuated she's a man, and all those things that you try to do to insult a woman to make her feel like
Mm-hmm.
she's not feminine. And it's just, it's
Well,
stupid. I
it's
think it's just
so
stupid.
stupid and it's taken so far left. But
Mm,
I have three things to say so I can
hmm
clear up how I feel about all three of these fools. So,
Yes.
first, Charlemagne, this is how you built your career. I understand you have to say this outlandish stuff. You want to, you off the cuff type of behavior. That's how you got your career. And as
Mm,
of late, because you have more celebrity friends or whatever the reason might be, you're being more and more politically correct. Maybe it's age, who knows? But you are trying to follow after Just Hilarious. Just Hilarious is now taken over that role of being the one who is off the cuff and will say whatever she thinks and feels. And she kind of disguises how she feels with comedy and that she's a comedian. Okay, I understand that. So there's a little bit of him maybe wanting to live up to the hype of who he used to be. Just Hilarious, I agree with you, standing in solidarity with your coworker, but girl, he's your coworker and he will throw you under the bus. We've seen it happen before. Charlemagne the God has no fear with throwing people under the bus. Best believe me. So just tread lightly with that. TS, there was no need for that. I'm sorry. You went so far left. It almost makes me wonder, like, I don't know. Did you take your hormone pills this morning? I'm sorry.
Oh no,
I'm not trying
not
to
the
be rude.
hormones.
I'm not trying to be rude, but them hormones, man. I'm a
mm,
woman. I know when they're off. Geez, watch out. So TS, that was so far left. It was you did incite violence. That was not required. You could have still checked Charlemagne without going that far. That's all I
yeah.
gotta say about that. And this whole topic, really, big backs, at the end of the day, this happens to slim
Eh.
chicks, big back
Yes,
chicks,
that was my point.
men, women. It
Yep.
doesn't matter. This is an area of love. And
Mm,
unfortunately, she was duped. And so that is what everybody can understand and have a commonality with. So I don't know where the big back comment came in. I know you're trying to seem sassy now that you have Just Hilarious on the show, but
mm,
really, that wasn't the comment to make. So I need all three of you to shut the hell up. That's what I
yeah.
need.
I think everybody was kind of
No.
went left, and yeah, that was really going to be my point. And to tie the bow on this is, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter your body type or your, if you're a preference or pretty privilege. It doesn't really matter. Any woman or man, as he said, no matter if you're traditionally attractive or not, you have been targeted by a narcissist. You have been targeted
Yeah.
by a
A
pathological liar.
user, an
Any
abuser. Like,
anybody can get it.
come on, man.
We see skinny celebrities like fucking, who do we see? Look at, okay, like Cassie, like, not a
Thank
good
you.
example, but I mean, beauty.
It
It doesn't
is,
matter.
but it is
It's a,
an example, and she was chasing the wrong thing, and so was he.
mm,
But it was all disguised under love. And
Mm,
so everybody goes through this. No one person is any different than anybody else. Like,
mm-hmm,
so I didn't understand why he had to, Charlemagne, that is, why he had
mm-hmm.
to designate this to a particular population. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I don't know if there was a big back woman in your life that hurt you,
Right?
Charlemagne, but really and truly, not everybody, okay, should be, summed up into one little pretty box that you want to put people in. This woman, on the other hand, Risa
Hmm.
Tisa,
Hmm.
girl, you're causing problems with your story, okay? Your
She was
5 hour
actually
story.
on the Tamron Hall
See?
show,
What
and
the
yeah,
hell?
she's doing her press run. The press run has started. I'm telling you,
I'm
this
sorry,
girl
no
is
offense, but she's a nobody and now she's on press runs. Like, really, Charlemagne? Really? You
yeah.
should have
So
saved your big back comment for TS. That's what you should have done. But you
right.
didn't. And so now all of y'all is up in arms over nonsense. But I will say that Just Hilarious, it's nice that you are trying to stand in solidarity and that you're trying to make sense out of nonsense. But girlfriend, you
Mm.
just got there. So please, I've seen Charlemagne throw other people under the bus. Don't have no tracks on your back,
No,
girl.
I
Please.
don't think he'll do that to her. Oh, I don't think
Well,
he'll do.
huh, huh. Seen
You,
stranger things.
yeah, I agree. Anything can happen, but
Yeah.
okay. So, we'll move on to our next headline. So there more stories are coming out with Diddy. One of his male producers came out accusing him of sexual assault and a whole bunch of other things and a whole bunch of other people
Right?
in the circle. His name is Rodney Lil Rod Jones, and he was a producer and videographer for him, and he filed a civil suit in New York, and for the time that he traveled with Diddy between 2022 and 2023. So very recent,
Mm-hmm.
not an old story. Like a lot of the stories we hear about Diddy are pretty dated, but this is fairly recent. So among other allegations, he said that Diddy did not compensate him. Obviously, probably why. Well, we'll just follow. That's nothing new.
No.
Did not compensate him for his producing work, forced him to procure and interact with sex workers, threatened him, and served alcoholic beverage laced with drugs to him and to guests at parties at his home. He also accused one of Diddy's chief of staff. Her name is Christina Koram,
Mm-hmm.
and some other people. There's some other executive people that have been named in the lawsuit. So very, very, following some tips from Cassie, I guess. He's also accused of soliciting underage girls to attend these
Mm-hmm.
parties, and sorry, by using his son Justin Combs to do this.
So
So
ridiculous.
that was another
Mm-hmm.
big one. That's one that caught my eye.
Mm-hmm. So unfortunate. It really is unfortunate that
Mhm.
he is brought his son into this nefarious business. Why is Diddy not under the jail? Please, somebody tell me. Because
Well, people just started talking.
a man walking down the street with a spliff in his mouth will do 10 years. So how the hell is Diddy not underneath the jail? Why are we having more and more evidence being thrown? What I understand, Diddy had a lot of power. I
Hmm.
get it, right? But usually in situations like this where a piece of the puzzle is starting to crumble, all the king's horses and all the king's men will leave. They will jump ship. And all of the people that Diddy has in his pocket or vice versa, I thought that they would have jumped ship already. Like I thought people would like he should be a social piranha. Like I just don't understand how this man's not under the jail. Cuz his power is not as strong as it used to be, you know? There's more and more people coming out. This man was raining havoc on the music industry, and it goes really far and really deep. And what he was involved with, it's just like, when will this stop? It just seems like every other week we're hearing about another person, another story. Now with this guy, I'm glad that you're coming out for whatever the reasons might be. Maybe it's for money, maybe it's for I don't really care. The point is that you're exposing him. And it sounds like he has a lot of evidence. We'll see. I'm gonna stay tuned to see what
Mm-hmm.
evidence he might have, but to be quite honest, Diddy needs to be underneath the jail. And at this point, that's all I really want to see is that he's underneath the jail. There's a lot of civil actions that are coming against him, which I don't know if he has enough money to pay out everybody, but
Mm.
there needs to be some criminal, actions that need to be reopened or relooked at. Maybe new charges need to be dropped, but we need to have this devil underneath the jail. Please put him underneath the jail. Like at this point, like what else do we need to hear? Like what else do we need to
Yeah, but
know?
like look what it took to get like what's his the white guy Weinstein. Look what it took to get him like locked up. Look what it took for R. Kelly. Like literally 20 years of documentations and testimonies, and really all that old shit didn't really get him in jail. What got him in jail is that he was kidnapping teenagers like from their families, whether the
Right.
parents were complicit or not. We have trafficking laws where you can't take somebody who's under 18 across the borders, which that's the only reason R. Kelly's in jail is because he decided to have those girls live with him, and the parents, although I do think they're complicit, decided to go to the news with this whole thing that R. Kelly was getting down with. But with Diddy, I think his time, whether he goes to jail or not, the power that he had and that he had to get away with this shit is definitely going to be, like you said, like people are probably quietly stepping away from him. They're not nobody publicly. Like if you notice, Breakfast Club didn't have any like all the
Mm-hmm.
even the big media people in the hip hop culture aren't really like
Right.
they're like reporting on it, but they're not can really outwardly like condemning
Right.
Diddy. So that already tells you that what's really going on in that the guy he still has some influence in the industry, but I do think people are quietly stepping away, just like you're people quietly quitting. I think people are quietly just we're not going to speak on it. We're not here for him, but we're not going to speak on it. Like,
Yeah, I and I understand and I get why, because he's still very much a threat out in these streets, which is so
mhm,
sad to say, but it's true. And it's really like I can't believe that one man had this amount of power,
mhm,
where we're still months and months later since Cassie came out.
mhm.
It's like just people are crawling out of the woodwork, whether they're right or not. At this
Yes.
point, I tend to believe them,
Mhm.
because there's always been something nefarious about Diddy from the
Yeah,
jump.
his yeah.
He always didn't rub me the right way, and we see why.
Mm.
I just, unfortunately, I have to keep my head to the ground with this one, and listening about this, because to be quite honest, like it's getting more and more gruesome and nastier, and just wicked, and just like I just can't. Like I can't hear about another person, because it's a lot. Like it's a lot to know that this man was really doing damage, like to a lot of precious people, and just because they wanted a career, and the misuse of power, it's just too much. I think after a while it's like, oh my god, what next? Did he, like, Jesus, you had your foot in everything, B. Like just everything, but so I guess, moving on from Diddy, because honestly, like, it's too much sometimes. Like it's and
Yeah.
it's like the
So,
things that he's
mhm.
attached to, man. It's the things that he's attached to. But one thing I did want to say, actually, now that I remember,
Yeah.
there was a case that back in 1999
Mhm.
that Shine, which was an artist of Diddy's, took the fall for. So it was a big thing back then. We didn't have
Yeah,
the
that's
social
when he was dating
medias.
with J Lo.
He was dating J Lo, Jennifer Lopez, and he was in a nightclub, and the place got shut up, and some people, I think, one person died. I could be wrong.
No, the woman got shot, but
She
she
got
didn't
shot in
die.
her face, but I think,
Yeah,
yeah. So
she lived.
Shine actually took the fall for Diddy. He did some time behind it, and now this new allegation from this producer can kind of collaborate the charges that were laid back then. And that young lady that was shot, she lived, and she did collect quite a handsome fee, or some,
Hmm.
for her pain and suffering. And she, I would say, I'm going to be paying attention to her specifically,
Hmm.
only because I think she does have legal ground to maybe press some criminal charges against Diddy, because he pretty much perjured himself. He lied. It's a federal offense to have other people take the fall for you. So I'm interested to see where she goes with that, because I think she might be the key to getting Diddy underneath the jail.
I
So
mean, she did pop up. She popped up. I think she popped up this week. But the thing is, she actually, if I and I remembered when she popped up, she always maintained that Diddy was the one who,
yeah, she said, I saw him shoot me.
yeah,
Like I
and that
saw
was even
him.
when they did the trial. So it's like that's how much power he had in that he was able to still beat that case, even with the victim saying that Diddy did it. And
Right?
so we'll
That's
see.
what I'm going to be paying attention to, because all of these
Mhm.
new allegations and stuff, like, they're
Yeah.
all civil, right? And
Yes.
meaning
Yeah.
they're suing for damages for an amount. Like, they're not,
Yeah.
you know, going a criminal route. And so I
Hmm.
feel like she might be the nail in the coffin,
Okay.
because she can actually press criminal charges,
Hmm.
right? Because he lied in court.
Yeah.
That's one. Two, you had somebody else take the fall for you. Do you
But I
really
also,
think that
but
that's
you
gonna go
know,
by? I don't think that's gonna fly.
but you
Hmm.
know how those cases do it. Like if she settled and she got money, that she probably by taking that money agreed to not ever bring this case to Diddy again. So she can't do it. But if
No,
like
but she
the
could. But
court,
she can
if the
compel the
courts,
state. She can compel the state with overwhelming evidence that would force the state to have to press charges. So
well,
sometimes the victims don't even have a choice,
yeah,
right?
that's what
If
I'm
the
saying. So
state
if
takes
the
over,
state did it,
yeah.
yes, she can't.
No,
But if the
she might
state
not
did it,
be able to, but
yeah.
she can provide the state with such compelling evidence.
Hmm.
And in this case, this guy Rod Jones, he's trying to say he has like actual video of him
Yeah.
confessing
Yeah.
to this crime. So
Hmm.
she could compel the state to have to press charges,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? So in which she in the end she would reap the benefit of him going to jail, because even though it's not her specifically, it was done to her, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to pay attention to that. Diddy ain't got enough money for all the damn people who want to sue his ass. Like, he ain't got that much. Okay, I know he was almost a billionaire, but people are coming out the woodwork with 20 mil here, 90 mil here. Like, huh, like, that's a lot of money even to a billionaire.
Yeah.
So, or close to a billionaire. But yeah, we'll keep our eye on that one. Hmm.
Okay, so yeah, Diddy's downfall this year, 2024. Diddy's downfall, boy.
Dirty Diddy, that's his name. Dirty
That's
Diddy.
Dirty Diddy.
Dirty Diddy. That's his name. Dirty Diddy.
So we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna move on to So what last week we were talking about the distastefulness of Lifetime
Mm-hmm.
producing and releasing a documentary around Wendy Williams and
Right.
her recent life updates and kind of going behind the scenes of all the troubles she's faced in the
Mm-hmm.
past few
Mm-hmm.
years and since leaving her show. And just like we thought, like we said last week when we were discussing all the politics of it all, that we
Mhm.
both decided we didn't want to watch. We had no intention of
Mhm.
watching it. We knew it was going to be terribly sad, and we were going to see a lot of what's a word when people take advantage. We're going to see a lot of people taking advantage of Wendy and enablement. So,
Mhm.
based on what I've been seeing online, we were right.
Yep. Me too.
And another thing, another resounding feeling or feedback I'm getting from people who watched it is that it definitely, like you were saying last week, should
Mhm.
not have been made, regardless of
Mhm.
what. It should not have been not only produced, but it should not have been released.
At all. Mhm.
And people were making a comparison between, like, if we think about if Bruce Willis, who she has the same condition with,
Mhm.
or even like Michael J. Fox. Remember, he was another white actor. He had
Yeah.
Parkinson. I think
Yeah.
he's still. I don't know if he passed yet, but
No,
still
he's still alive,
he's
and
still.
he does
Mhm.
do some act. Well, maybe a
He
few
did, but I
years
think he's
ago. Yeah.
deteriorated a lot. But
Yeah.
again, somebody who's had like a life altering
Yeah.
condition that changes everything about your life. And we never saw the behind the scenes of that. We didn't see them suffer
Right.
any indignity. Anytime we saw
Right.
them in public, it was in the way that would be the most dignified to those people.
Mhm.
And now
Mhm.
we have an icon, a black media icon, and this is her at her most vulnerable, and this is how we're doing her.
Like, honestly, people, I just can't watch. I choose not to watch for many reasons. First,
Hmm.
I want to remember Wendy at her height.
Hmm.
First. Second, seeing somebody deteriorate in front of you, to
Hmm.
me, is just not entertaining.
Nope.
Lastly, I understand that they're trying to expose this and expose that. But
Mm,
this is the ending of her career. Okay? And this is what you want people to walk away remembering. Why? Why this black icon? We
mhm.
can call Wendy whatever the hell we want to call her. But at the end of the day, she was a trailblazer. At the end
Yeah.
of the day, she was fearless. At the end of the day, if she didn't come, none of y'all who are in this commentary industry, including us on this podcast, okay, would even be able to think about doing it. So she is a true pioneer, and I don't want to remember her as someone who has lost their faculties, who's
Mm,
abusing people, who is crumbling in front of us. Even how she looks, Wendy would have never.
mm.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
she
another
would
thing.
have never. All right,
Mm,
she was big into how she looked
yeah.
and how, to present herself to the world. And what I'm seeing, I'm sorry, I can't get down with it. I don't care what the hell we're trying to do here. If it's, oh, we're trying to expose the people who are using her and all of this jazz, why do we
Mm,
need to expose it? And even then, even if it's exposed, will the using stop?
mm.
I
Well,
don't know.
so in the documentary, one of the characters that really got like a magnifying glass is this woman who is her PR person, her public relations person, and her publicist actually. Her name is Sean Zanotti or something. I think it is. Definitely first name is Sean.
Mm-hmm.
And she was one of the people enabling Wendy. She took Wendy to Los Angeles at one point for some reason, just her and Wendy. And that was kind of around the time when Wendy was doing a couple of interviews talking about the podcast or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That was around the time when Wendy was talking about potentially doing the podcast. And everybody was, and the team was like, she didn't ask permission from the team
Mm-hmm.
or her manager. Let's say her Wendy's manager didn't know. And when she
Mm-hmm.
was there in the behind the scenes when they're filming it, they're in a
Mm-hmm.
bar and she's letting Wendy have a couple drinks. And so the producer asks Sean, the PR girl, like about, oh, is it like why, is it right? Why is it a good idea that Wendy's drinking? She's like, well, she's just, what's, it's just one drink or something like that. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
bitch, this woman is literally
Like,
has drunken herself to like
get the hell
like
out
this
of
one of
here.
her big problems, right? So for her to just say that, and so she was definitely pointed out as somebody who's pretending to be. I'm using the word pretend because at the end of the day, this person works for you. No matter how
Right?
Wendy, even if Wendy's positioning it that way, she's, you're always around. It's natural for her again, or she doesn't have her wits about her to just see this person as a quote unquote friend. But really,
Mm-hmm.
you pay this woman. So if you're paying her, she
She
in
ain't your
based
friend.
on definition, she's not your friend. But as a PR person, she is doing her job because she's pretending like Wendy doesn't have a problem. They ask you all these questions, and the PR person's like, "Well, no, da da da." But you know what? Technically, that's her job, right? To make
Right?
sure it makes it seem that Wendy doesn't have an issue. But that was weird. You took her from when maybe Wendy asked her to do this. Who knows? Maybe she thought she was doing her job. Who knows? But you took her from New York to Los Angeles, knowing her head is, well, maybe now knowing that her head is not about her, or her wits are not 100%, and you didn't tell her management or anybody else, and then you have her doing all this nonsense, and like it was just very bad. And on top of that, this the main thing we need to remember here is that this girl is getting paid by Wendy, regardless if Wendy's wits are with her or not. Wendy's money is going towards this girl. So that was a person I didn't like at all. And other people were saying that the person that I saw who was reviewing it, she said, the only people I'm convinced that actually care about Wendy is Wells Fargo, likely the nephew and niece. The forever friend seems okay, but hasn't spoken to her in years. And oh, DJ Booth. We know DJ Booth from her show, Wendy Williams show,
Mm-hmm.
because I and half of New York know additional details about what happened when he found Wendy, and he won't say it on camera. I deeply respect him for leaving that out. So there's some story where how he found Wendy. I've heard that story as well. How he must have went and found Wendy like half naked or something, like in a drunken stupor in her apartment. During one of these times where they're still trying to figure out what's
Mm-hmm.
going on with her. She also said, I'm leaving out the son because of the numbers he ran for his mother supporting his lifestyle were ridiculous. Meaning that he was like, I think we talked about this, right? He was like spending like $200 a day on Uber Eats and just like running through his allowance, his that from his mother.
You know, what's
Mhm.
so sad about this is that what I'm seeing, what I've gathered, is that Wendy Williams does not have a support system at all.
Mm, mm,
It just seems like everybody is out for something, like notoriety, money, power over her funds. I don't know what it is, but
mhm,
this woman doesn't have not one person who is stepping in and saying, "Nah, fam, we're gonna take this over." While she had her wits about her, where she could give power of attorney, it just seems like nobody really actually cares about her. It seems like there's a lot of people that have an agenda, and that a lot of people, you know, they want to be in the limelight in this time in her life. Like I just need somebody to come along and really truly save this woman
mm,
so that she can at least be in peace. The legacy that she's left can be remembered the way she left it. And it's just sad to see that nobody is actually stepping in and taking charge of this situation. It just seems like a lot of excuses and a lot of, oh, well, we have this to worry about and that red tape to think about and this and that. I'm hearing a lot of reasons why not, but I'm not hearing enough people standing up to do enough for this woman. I'm really not. And I feel like the more and more that I listen to it, her family specifically, yeah, everybody's trying to say her son is young and all this shit.
yeah.
I'm sorry, he's old enough to stand up for his mother. He's old enough to, if he's old enough to go to school and read a book, well, pick up a book about a will and estates. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. Like, I just feel like I'm hearing a lot of reasons why not to help this woman properly, and it's just not flying with me. It's just not flying with me because that's what it is, excuses. I just don't understand why there's not one person in this woman's life who will stand up against all of this nonsense. Like, I just don't get it. I don't get it. There's a whole bunch of piranhas around her, and
Mm,
nobody seems to really give a shit. Do you know what I mean?
mm,
Like, her son, you see your mother is unemployed. She's been unemployed for over a year. Why would you be spending $200 on Uber Eats? You know what I'm saying? Like, her niece that we've never really ever heard of, you know, yes, she's mentioned, Wendy has mentioned her, but where were you to stand up for her before? Like, her sister, her brother. We know her brother was a clout chaser from a couple years ago.
mm,
You
mm.
know what I'm saying? So her father's ill. Not well, he's
He's
old.
elderly.
He's
Yeah.
elderly and he does have some health issues from what I remember, but he's
Mm,
still, kicking and up and around. Like, there's nobody, you know. Then there was her ex-husband. He was in her pocket giving his side chick her damn money. Like, there's nobody in this woman's life that was stepping in and truly wants to save her. That's what it feels like to me. And I
mm.
just can't watch it. I don't
Yeah.
even want to hear about it anymore.
Yeah.
Because when
Right.
I
So
see
sad.
her and I look at the pictures of her and the few clips that I've seen of this, they mentioned the trailer
Yeah.
of this documentary, I'm just like, I'm so saddened because I'm like, this poor woman has not one soul, not one that will actually come and save her.
Huh.
That's what it seems like. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is that
We
one person, but where
we
the
will
hell are
see.
they?
We'll see because again,
All I gotta say.
like I said last week, I think this is putting a microscope on everybody involved in this scenario, and it's bringing up a lot of questions. It's disgusting, regardless
And
that
everybody
they.
else seems to agree. There's
Yeah.
not one person who has come out and said, "Oh, this is such a wicked documentary
No,
of
no, no.
Wendy."
Everybody's like,
Nobody has
why
said
did
that.
they? Everybody's like, why the hell? Not
Did
only
they
did
air this? Come on, man. It's a damn
so
shame.
it's a
Mm-hmm.
damn shame, right? So prayers up for Wendy.
Yeah.
We'll
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure more will come out in the next few weeks. Okay, we had something here on Portia and Simon. I'm gonna skip that.
Yeah, because they're
And
really not important. They're getting a
no, no, no.
divorce. Simon's being deported. Whoop de doo. How you get him is how you know, like, how you get him and how you lose them. Okay, Portia. Yeah, just remember that the next time you want to go, take up someone else's man. Yeah, so.
So it's gonna jump over to Cam Newton, previous NFL player, a very flamboyant dresser. Um, he
That
recent.
hat, like, is it sewn to his dreads or something? Like, jeez.
I mean, he changes it up every once in a while, so I'm assuming. Yeah, so pretty much, I came across this headline and I just ignored it. I was just like, I didn't really pay much attention to it because
Yeah,
I
me
couldn't
too.
really
Hmm.
get the context. But why it kind of caught my attention this week is that the two guys that were in the fight with him were on a radio show and kind of, I guess, explaining or putting into context some events leading up into that incident. And so pretty much what those guys were saying. So pretty much they were at, like, say, a youth camp, football camp, and Cam Newton has his organization and team, and these guys are obviously also a part of another organization for this event. It was called the 7 versus 7 football event, so I guess it's like some
Hmm.
type of tournament. And these guys were managing another team, and Cam Newton has a team as well. So these
Hmm.
guys are pretty much saying that Cam Newton is known for a lot of shit talk and sports. So that's very common, especially
Hmm.
with something as competitive as football. So he's always known for talking a lot of nonsense on and off the field. And I guess when they're at the event, Cam must have said something offhand and to one of the men, and that was insulting, and then his friend kind of jumped in to be like, whoa, 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 what's going on? And then once his hand got on the other, once Cam Newton put his hand on the other guy, Cam Newton is like almost 6'6". Like
Yeah.
he is a
Big
big
boy.
dude. He's
Yeah.
he's fucking. If you saw him with these guys, he was manhandling these
Yeah.
two
He's a
grown
yeah,
men.
he's a big guy.
It
He's a
was
big boy. Yeah, he's a big
crazy.
boy. Yeah. I don't know.
um
I don't know.
and so pretty much it's just one of those things. It's one of those unfortunate things that happen when there's too much, people are putting too much gasoline on the
Mhm.
fire. It's already a
Yep.
fired up event, maybe very competitive. Who knows all the other previous history of rivalry and all those things,
Mhm.
and it just escalated. But he has come out and said that he it was an unfortunate event, and like it does, when you look at it, it looks like he's not the aggressor. But what the guys are trying to say is that, okay, he's been known to kind of talk nonsense and get people riled up and stuff like that. But it's like the sad part is these are two grown men. It wasn't young kids. These are like, Cam Newton is a grown man, and these two
Yep.
other guys who are like, they're coaches and they're mentors to their young athletes, and they showed a lot of remorse on the radio show when they were explaining kind of the context. And it's just, yeah, it was bad. It was a bad thing to see because this is a youth thing and big celebrity. But
Right?
if you look at the video, it doesn't look like Cam is the aggressor.
No, he looks like he was the responder. That he
Yeah.
definitely responded to some comments that might have been made that he didn't like.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I can appreciate that. I can appreciate that, but having this 6'6" man come at you like Jesus, I would start
Yeah.
running, bro. Because he's a big boy. Like he's a big guy. You know what I
He's
mean?
yeah,
And
yeah.
he's a football player.
Mm.
So he knows how to tackle you. Okay. So yeah, put all of that together with a 6'6", broad, big back, broad back man.
Yeah.
Okay, football player. Yo, I would be a little shitting in my pants because I wouldn't want him coming at me, and he definitely manhandled them. He sure
Yeah,
did.
so he released a statement on his podcast saying that, I'm disappointed in myself for letting it escalate to what it did, and that's what I'm apologetic to. The truth of the matter is this: me being in my position, I should have never put myself in that position. That's just the truth. That could have got ugly for real. And Cam said, I feel like when he's talking about his team and the kids and the youth, I feel like I let them down because I can't sit up here and say, hey, bro, you have to be bigger than that. And then all of a sudden I do that. That just shows that you have to always stay in control of your emotions. So, I think it's in one of those unfortunate things, and I think sometimes when
Yeah,
there's a
me
lot of
too.
gasoline and testosterone and all
Yeah,
these
all
things, it's
sorts.
like all it takes is a match, and then you get that. So
Right?
at least
And I
he's
think that's what
taking.
happened.
I think both parties have taken accountability, and that's all we can ask for.
Well, and that's real men for you. You know
Yeah,
what I
there you
mean?
go.
Like, understand you made a mistake. You kind of went left when you shouldn't
Mm,
have. Maybe you should have, held your, composure.
mm.
But at least he's admitting it, and at least he's saying, "Listen, I never promised that I was, I'm gonna fall. I'm gonna fail. I'm human. I'm going to crack under the pressure or whatever." He obviously felt in
Mm.
that moment very compelled by whatever,
Yes,
whoever, whatever they said.
yes, the situation. Yeah.
So as long as people are taking accountability and he sees where he went wrong, I can't really
Mm.
wrong him. Like such is life. Such is life. Next time, don't talk that smack around him. Don't talk that.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So a lot of lessons were learned. He's not the one. Number one, that's the first
Oh
lesson.
yeah, definitely.
He's not the one. So yeah, but hey, hey, I mean, he made a mistake. He acknowledged it. Let's move on. You
Yeah.
know.
Okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
So finally, we do some music news before jumping into our first segment, and just a quick thing actually. So Cardi B is back with a little bit of music. She's been working, cooking in the kitchen. I think she's been trying to figure it out, and in terms of like, I know she wants to release. She's been wanting to release an album. She went on her Instagram and kind of showed all the song bank
Mhm.
she has, and I personally think her team is trying to figure. Like, remember, her first album was wildly
Right.
successful, so I think they're trying to make sure that what they're coming out with can match that or surpass it. I guess, but that
Mhm.
puts a lot of pressure on the artist. Sometimes you just
Sure
gotta like,
does.
as long as you have
Mhm.
quality music and you know what I mean. I think it has been too long for her. So anyway, yesterday, Friday, March 1st, she released a freestyle on her Instagram and on YouTube. And I believe she's using the beat from Missy Elliott, She's a Bitch, from her second
Yeah.
album.
Yeah. I heard the
And
snippet.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I
Mhm.
will say she looks amazing in the video. The hair, the makeup, the fits. I mean, she's been like consistent with that, but I was like really like, I was like, damn, like, whoo, perfect, perfect. Her
Right.
team, her visual team in terms of who puts her together, they're always A1. Yeah, here's my thing. I love the beat, but I do feel like it just the rapping, it sounds like an inexperienced person rapping. That's what
And
it
you want to
sounds to
put that
me.
on Missy's beat? Like, please, I can't.
Right? I mean,
Whew.
she has a couple of lines on there that I like, of course, but I just think the flow, after just listening to the song only once, I think the flow is just, I don't know, it's just not giving. Like, this is a iconic beat, and I needed her to body it. And
Right.
there's another New York artist that actually sampled the same beat from Missy Elliott. Her name is Bia.
Mhm.
And I just saw it on Twitter, and then I guess Missy Elliott, somebody was calling it out, and Missy Elliott was like just acknowledging both of them for, using that beat. So that was pretty
Mhm.
cool. But I'm like, yeah, like Bia knew what she was doing with that beat. Cardi,
Mhm.
I don't know. Like, she was talking her shit. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, there's some lines on there. I was like, okay, but it just the flow was just like not it. It just was not it for me personally. That's it.
Mhm.
That's all I'm gonna say. Everything else was great, but the flow felt immature. Like,
Yeah.
for somebody, even if she's not like, she's, a lot of people write for her. We know that, but at the very least, she's usually really good at executing. You know what I mean? And I feel like
Yeah.
the execution is just not there.
She's good, not great at
Mm.
execution for
Mhm,
me.
mhm. Yes.
Do we realize that Missy Elliott was just inducted into Hall of Fame
Mhm.
in this past Black History Month?
Mm.
So I need you to come with the right. Like, we're not gonna take an icon like Missy and her beat and mess it up. I'm sorry, Cardi. Listen, Cardi's fans don't come for me, no place at all. I'm telling you what I think. Cardi is not a strong enough rapper to be on a beat like that. Period.
Mm.
She's just not.
Mm.
She's not. And I'm not saying that she can't be. I'm not
Mhm.
saying that she can't be. But you need a little bit more seasoning to you, Cardi. Need a little bit more seasoning. I think that whoever wrote for Cardi, they
Mm.
did an okay job. There was those punchlines, and yeah, but you are 100% correct in my eyes. The flow was totally off from the beat. It didn't add anything to the beat. The beat and your flow almost sounded like they were conflicting. And I just don't think that you're seasoned enough to go on Missy's beat like that. That's an iconic Missy beat. So I need a real iconic effort right here.
Yeah, like,
And you
even
didn't
if
hit
she
that.
used even if she copied Missy's flow, like, it would have been kind of whack, but I could even give it to her if she used the flow that Missy used on the original song. She's like, because
Yeah,
Missy's
or
bouncing all
something
over
very
that.
similar. Something
Yeah.
similar, you know.
I think she thought she was doing something similar, but
I
I don't
don't
think
think
so.
so. I don't know. Like I think performing wise, Cardi has gotten better and
Yeah, yeah.
she has a presence,
Hmm.
when she performs. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to strip her of all of her success. I'm not saying that. I think that she is talented and I think that you know, this just wasn't the beat for you. Not
Mm.
yet. Like I think you needed to because for me, Missy Elliott is one of the greats, to be
Oh,
quite
of course.
honest.
Yeah.
Right? She is a producer, a lyricist. She's iconic in everything that she's done. Fashion forward. Like there's so much about Missy. And so for me, you gotta, really put in the work. You got to really put in the work, and I just didn't feel like she was putting in enough work on that beat. I just I don't know. This wasn't it for me, Cardi. Sorry, it just wasn't. But hey, everybody's has entitled to their opinion, you know.
Hmm.
And so we'll move on from Cardi then, and we'll get into our first segment, which we haven't done in quite some time.
Mm.
And I'm nice that we're gonna. I'm feeling really good about us going back to the call out.
They call out.
Yes, this is where we put each other in the hot seat. Everybody, listeners, you don't remember the call out? We put each
Hmm.
other into the hot seat, and we have to answer these questions, right? And so I'm gonna start with my question
Yeah.
because it's I don't know, it could be a not so fun or fun, it depends on. So the question is, how do you measure success? How do you measure
Mm.
success? So I have thought about it,
Hmm.
and I think my definition has evolved as I've grown
Hmm.
as a person. I remember in my teenage years, success to me was being able to do whatever I want to do. So if I wanted to go out with my girls to dinner, do it. If I wanted to go to the movies, do it. And I felt successful. I felt like I was pulling in money and I was, paying my own bills and I was doing all the things that made me feel successful at that time in my life.
Hmm.
Then when I got to, later on in my mid 20s, early 30s, it was like, okay, well, success was education and being able to achieve a degree and all that stuff. And
Hmm.
now, at one point it was work and my role and my job and how I'm able to level up myself.
Yeah.
But now as a mother, I think once I had heard my daughter say her alphabets from
Hmm.
start to finish without help, I was like, that is success.
Hmm.
To see her grow and thrive and learn, and she's an awesome kid, and just to see her, I feel like I am successful. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like
Hmm.
my definition has changed over the years, and I think my next success, I don't know, cross my fingers, is being a homeowner.
Mm.
I don't know about in these streets, but but I'm
Oh
gonna try.
boy,
I'm gonna
Toronto.
keep them
Yeah,
fingers crossed.
of course. Yeah,
Get
it will
on
be
the
yours.
knees, I pray, Lord Jesus. But so no, but for real, growing old and being comfortable
Yes.
financially, I think that's my next level of success. But
Hmm.
so I know I've encompassed a lot. So right
Yeah.
now in this stage of my life, I think success is seeing my child grow and thrive. You know.
Nice.
So what
Nice.
would you say is your what? How do you measure success, my friend?
I guess I can encompass a lot of. If I were to summarize it, I would say it is kind of meeting oneself, or let's say meeting myself
Mm-hmm.
where I want. to be, whatever that happens to be, right?
Yeah.
So it's like my expectations or for myself, right? Whatever that happens to be,
Mhm.
like you said, owning a home, going on
Mhm.
a crazy an African safari,
Right. Mhm.
or being or volunteering in the community, whatever that happens to be. I usually feel if I'm doing the things that I think are fulfilling to me, then that is how I measure success. In that I'm feeding my soul, I'm feeding something, fulfilling my spiritual, emotional self versus just things, right? Because, like you said, as you mature, we
Mhm.
learn after a while, after you're young and your young and immature ways, you realize that the material things may be successful to other people externally,
Mhm. Mhm.
but that won't necessarily make you feel successful internally, right?
Right.
Because
That's
you can
right.
have a lot of people around you who will think that you're quote unquote successful based on,
Right.
what you've accomplished in life, right?
Right. No, I
Maybe in
agree. Mhm.
maybe inside you're not really, you just don't feel that way because there's some things that you aspire to, that, or some things you want to accomplish, or some things you want to incorporate in your life that you haven't been able to do yet for whatever reason or whatever circumstance you have. So yeah, I think in a summarized way, I'm still saying the same thing as you, in that you find satisfaction in my success is rooted internally. I want my
Mhm.
success, it's an internal thing. And so if there's anything I aspire to, if there's anything I want to incorporate in my life, anything I
Mhm.
want to accomplish or even feel,
Right. Right.
that would be how I measure success. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. What is the
So,
question for me then? Mhm.
okay, my question was a little bit lighthearted. I was
Mhm.
gonna say, what is the funniest thing that has ever happened to you at work? And so let me give you. I'll start
Mhm.
off. I have two stories that
Okay.
are embedded in my psyche. So one is fairly recent. It's like short. It's funny. So one time, I was we all, at work, we all sit kind of in the same vicinity. So
Mhm.
anybody can kind of speak out and get your attention, right? So
Mhm.
one time my manager was just spoke out, like she wanted to ask me something, and I was like so focused on what I was doing, I gave the most Jamaican response. I gave
Right.
I gave I gave the most Jamaican mother response. So say she's like, "Oh, Jeanette," and I was like, "Mm?" and and here's the thing, that alone fine, because I feel like I do that. I don't think that was the first time I ever did it. Here's why it was so funny. My colleague who sits more closer to me was like, what the hell was that? He's like, that was the most, he imitates, like, that was the most black woman response
That's
ever. And
right.
I literally died. Like, I was like, who is he to call me out like this? I was like, what the heck? Because I'm sure I've done that before, but the fact that he called it out, I was literally dying. I was like, yeah, that was literally the most black response I could ever
Mm-mm.
give her. I was just so focused. I was like, I forgot where I was. My code switching didn't turn on when she, at that moment. That's what I could say. Another quick one is a more awkward.
Mhm.
So there was this time, there was like one of my first jobs. There was like a clique of, there was like, there wasn't a lot of black folks. There was not a lot of
Right.
black folks,
Yep.
more than less black women. There was a circle of
Right.
us though. As I was there for a couple of years, there was a few black girls that kind of came in, and we kind of gravitated towards each other, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So one time we're having lunch, and I don't know, sometimes you're having lunch, you're having random conversations, right? You don't want to
Right.
talk about work. Once the topic veers off work, and we're in our 20s, so we have social lives, we're dating, we're doing
Yep.
this, we're doing that. So somehow it came into questions about, I don't know how, but and this is in the office room where people in the lunchroom where other people are having lunch as well. Somehow it veered it into somebody's like sexual, their like
Mm. Ah.
preferences or something like that. I don't know how it
Oy
veered into that.
vey.
I don't even remember how it got there. This is what I do remember. It was so funny. Somehow, one of the girls one of the ladies was talking about giving oral sex, and I was like, how did we get here in my head,
How are
right?
we here at the
I
work?
still to this day don't know how we got there. And then she started to graphically describe
Oh my
the
god.
the different flavors
Oh my
of,
lord, in the work. Oh
of the
my.
different races of men she's
Oh
had.
my
So
god.
she was basically trying to say, oh, black men have more seasoning, so basically there's more salty or something
Oh
like
my
that.
god.
And I was just like going, I was like looking at, so imagine there's like four girls, and me, I did a side eye to one of these girls because in my head I was just like, how and why are we here? Like, this is just like, I was not ready for this conversation in the office, and I'm really baffled as how we got to this much detail
Mm-mm.
of what she's doing with her part. Like, that much detail, I don't want.
Right.
I'm good. Anyway, so she's doing this, and I side eye the girl, and we are literally fighting not to laugh. We are fight. I was like, I should not have made my
Oh
eye twist.
god.
So that what killed me? Can you imagine? You're thinking this, and
No,
I'm just looking
I
to check.
can't.
Am I the only one? Am I the only one who's baffled in this conversation right now? Like,
My
how did we
god.
get here? And it's so funny because after that, I never looked at the girl the same. I always said, I'm still polite, and me, I'm open. Like, I don't care. Like, at the end of the day, do what you want. But I just was like, how we talk about this in the lunchroom? I just don't understand. Like, nobody, like, I felt like
Oh
she was kind of
my.
grandstanding. I kind of felt like it was not a very natural way how this conversation came up. And so I kind of
Mm-mm.
always looked at her differently from there. She even eventually confronted me, and well, she confronted me, but she was talking about the other girl too. It's like, oh, ever since that time, I was like, girl, like, listen, you're lucky we didn't laugh in your face. Like, that's all I was
Right?
like. But anyway,
Shoot.
those are my stories.
Well, I have two as well.
Mhm.
One of them
Okay.
is me, and one of them is a coworker. And
Okay.
it's kind of funny. To me, it was funny. Okay,
Mhm.
so and it's been in this present job that I'm in right now. And
Mm.
so this lady, she's really nice. Like, she's a really nice lady, and you can tell that she doesn't know, like, she's just very awkward in certain
Okay.
situations. And I work with lawyers, and when you're around lawyers, even in like just work setting where there's no clients or anything like that you have to impress, and it's just amongst you, and you have to talk to them about
Yeah.
things, like, you have to try to have conversation, right? And
Yeah.
so she's always trying to have conversation, but she's not very good at having conversation. She's very
Mm.
kind of socially awkward at times. So this particular day, we were having a lunch, and we were having it as a group, and she got this salad, and half the salad was still in her teeth. Okay?
Oh Lord.
And it was how it was addressed, right? So I tried to, like, get her attention, right?
Mhm.
And, like,
Mhm.
give a signal, like licking my teeth or something, right? But
Mhm.
she's, again, at times socially awkward, so she didn't quite get what I was doing, right? And
Mhm.
so the top boss that started our firm, just, he's kind of rude, and he's like, "Oh, you're saving that salad for later?" Back foot. I was just
Sorry.
like, Lord
That's
of
hilarious.
mercy.
That is oh
But it
man,
was
no,
the way that he did it.
that's
So not
rude, but it's
only did
also
he say, so we're all in a group setting. So well, everybody, we are sitting on that eat, right? And so my man, not only did he say that, but when you have your mouth open, like you're sticking out your teeth, and he's like, "Hey, save that for later," and he's pointing at his teeth with his
oh
mouth
man,
open,
oh
like,
no,
"You say, but," and he's looking right at her,
oh
right?
my
And I
god.
was just like, "Oh my god, okay." So I had to shut my eyes for a sec, because I didn't want to look at her after the statement was made, because I
Yeah.
would have bust out laughing in this woman's face, because everybody now looked at her mouth. Everybody,
Mm-mm.
the entire table but me, because I closed my eyes,
Yeah.
looked at her, and it was embarrassing. Like, it was super embarrassing, and it was funny because he was calling her out, but he's an older gentleman, so he doesn't understand like subtleties and stuff.
And he thought he was being funny too.
Yeah, he actually thought, I think he thought he was helping her, right?
Mm.
To address the issue of the
Yeah.
salad in your mouth still. The
Yeah.
salad long gone, but it's still in your teeth. So anyway, that was one. But I just felt so
Do you recall what
amazingly
kind of salad that is? Because I never want to order that salad ever.
right. My girl had a Greek salad with grilled chicken on top, right? And Greek
Damn.
salad, it's stinky, right? Because like it
Mm.
has, a lot of
Oh yeah.
aromatics and stuff like that. So
Feta, cheese, and all those
right,
things.
feta, all of these things. But it was just, yeah, like she had like a mouthful of lettuce. Like, and I was thinking to myself, you don't feel that? Anyhow, he pointed it out. Everybody's looking. It was just so sad. But
Mm.
anyhow, the other situation, which was funny but embarrassing. So
Mm.
early out as a mom, I was a single mom, and so there was a lot of times where I didn't get a lot of rest, right?
Mm.
And so I get up and I get on my day and I go to work and I hustle. And so I got to work, and I'm glad that there weren't a lot of people in the office at this point, because I had my shirt inside out. Like my
Mm.
shirt, so it was like a button up shirt, and I
Yeah.
had like a cardigan over it, right?
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
button up shirt was like, it wasn't like a stiff material cotton, it was like more of a silkier type of
Mm.
satiny type of, and it was inside out, and I didn't notice this because I'm in the
Mm-mm.
rush and everything. And so my coworker, who was very kind, she's
Yeah.
like, "You might want to go to the washroom."
Mm.
And I'm like, "Why? Like, what's wrong?" She's like, "I don't think the pockets on your shirt are supposed to like go that way." Right? So I go to the washroom. I
Yeah.
go to the washroom and I look in the mirror and I have the shirt inside out. I'm walking
Mm.
around the damn place with it. And anywho, I changed the shirt, but it was embarrassing yet funny because it was her face that made it funny for me, because
Mm.
I could tell that she didn't know how quite to tell me, and she didn't quite know what to say. And it's not like we have a whole lot of mirrors in the office where I could notice it
Mm.
myself. So it was just her face. Like, she looked like she wanted to bust out laughing, but she was kind enough to just tell me, and it was the way that she told me. I found it funny afterwards because I can laugh at myself.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
in that situation, I was like, Lord Jesus, you come out the host. I'm all disheveled, like really going to the job. But that was mine. But anyhow, I think, the girl with her salad in her teeth was funnier. But
That
anyhow,
was hilarious. Yeah.
yeah. And he was like, "You're saving that salad for later?" And it's like, really? No, and he's pointing at his mouth and he has his lips open, and yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like, okay. Anyhow. And she took up the tissue quick fast, and she's like, "Oh, okay, I'm so, oh boy."
Yeah, that's all you can, like, literally, if you're her, like, that's literally all you can do.
Like,
Because it's either you literally die in fate from embarrassment, like I
right?
think I,
But
or
she
you kind of
wasn't
have to
catching
just,
my hint, man. She wasn't catch. I was trying to
oh
drop a hint. I would try, with because we're in a whole boardroom, all of us dead. Lord God. Anyways, that was really funny. That was a good question. I that laugh was nice.
mhm.
And we're gonna move on into our next segment, which is the workout. Yes, the workout. This is where, we work out our hearts and exercise our mental fitness by doing deep dive discussions on topics that are affecting our culture or us, just us. And so
Yeah.
we're going to talk about songwriters that are fed up in this industry. So as of late, we've been seeing Tiffany Red has come out. She's a songwriter.
Mhm.
She's written songs for many different stars, and she moves in those circles. And so she came out, and my girl was breaking down. She was breaking down.
Ooh, yeah.
She was talking about, her the publishing, and they're not treated fairly in the music industry. People take their publishing left, right, and center, even though they've had nothing to do with the actual song. They're just singing it, but there's
Yeah.
somebody who created it, and
Mm.
they're not getting their just dues. And this has been a situation, a problem for many, many years, that songwriters have been trying to combat. And unfortunately, the battle is still going. The battle is
Mhm.
still going, and Tiffany Red brought us into that world and reminded us of that world a little bit more. And so I wanted to, discuss this in the workout, because this girl's going through it. Tiffany Red is
Yep.
going through it. My girl is throwing out all sorts of names. She's calling out Beyonce and everything. But she called out Beyonce's name, and I want to address, because a lot of people are giving her slack because they're saying she should have mentioned Beyonce in her rant
Mm.
about not
Mhm.
getting publishing and stuff. But I think what she was trying to do
Yeah.
was point out somebody in the industry that has pull.
Mm.
Beyonce can make a change. She can make a change. And if she were to give the publishing where it should go, to the songwriters, that other people would take heed and other people would do the same thing. So she has we know Miss Beyonce here on Beyonce's Good Internet, she has a big voice and in the industry, and she has a lot of pull. And so therefore she was calling her out, not to say, oh, well, she's just as bad as everybody else. She's saying she can actually be the person to change this dynamic in the music industry.
Mhm.
And I kind of side with her on that. I do. I really didn't know that it was this bad. I
Yeah.
knew that songwriters were not being credited their just dues. They were not getting paid their just dues. I just didn't know that they were being treated so horribly in the industry.
Yeah.
Like they are lower than the talent. You know what I mean? Like
Oh
they're
yeah, definitely.
way lower than the
They're
talent,
the
and the
bottom of the
talent
totem
is
bowl.
taking advantage of them. You know,
Yep.
but without a songwriter, and we can see with the past strike that we just had in Hollywood, on a different scale, how much, TV producers and people who write for sitcoms
Yeah.
and actors and actresses, how important they are in the industry. And without songwriters, I'm sorry, Beyonce has people writing for her.
Mhm.
Majority of these talents out here, these artists, musicians, have somebody writing for them.
Mhm.
So it's not fair that these songwriters are not collecting what they deserve. And so we also see that with Moni Long.
Mhm.
She's now getting her just dues, but she had
Mhm.
to fight for so long to get to the point where she is right now, where she had to just say, you know what, screw it, I'm going to go in front of the camera, I'm going to be the talent, I'm going to be the one that sings the song. And we can see how well she is doing. you know her own music, she's singing her own music. And so them being treated unfairly, especially Tiffany Red, like that
Yeah.
really pulled at my heartstrings, because
Mhm.
I could just imagine what she's seen. She also mentions Diddy. Okay.
Yes.
She also
Mhm.
mentions that she wrote for Cassie, and that she now learned after time that in order for a song of Cassie, which Tiffany Red wrote, to be produced, she'd have to go through all sorts of freak offs. And it really hit her hard, because she's like, it's my music that I'm so good at making, and I bring joy to a lot of people, and it was used in such nefarious ways. And
Mhm.
so back to the songwriters, though. It's really sad to see this, and I can understand why they're fed up. And I think everybody's fed up. in the industry, in the entertainment industry, period, everybody is fed up. So what do you say about this situation here with, specifically, I
I'm
guess,
gonna,
with Tiffany Red?
yeah.
It's
Well, I'm gonna say
I
that
really, I pray for that girl because she's going through it.
she's clearly like, some context on Tiffany Red is that
Yeah.
she started up an organization during the pandemic called the 100%ers, and it's pretty much, it was supposed to, she's trying to unionize the songwriters, and so this is an organization that, to kind of get everybody, get a collective of songwriters, and to like get a union, and like continue to advocate for their rights as artists. So that's
Mm-hmm.
one thing. And she's been very vocal on her social, and I've seen her on podcasts, very passionate, and I've learned a lot about how songwriters make their money based on seeing her in various interviews. One thing I'll say is, why is, and maybe I'm ignorant, but I'm pretty close, I'm pretty like leaned in into the music industry, and like the content I consume, like, and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. I'm pretty leaned in with the industry as a business, out even outside of like consuming music. But why is she the only one?
Right.
You know what I mean? So, what, and why I say that is that, like, yeah, like this video that we both, that kind of sparked us into this discussion, you can
Mm-hmm.
clearly see that
Mm-hmm.
it's been wearing on her.
Yep.
This advocacy that she's taken on, and I'm sure a lot of people behind the scenes appreciate it, but she's literally the only songwriter that I see going this hard. And you know what I mean? Like, I feel like
Yeah, because she's not afraid anymore.
she's not afraid, which is, it's good. But that's the thing, when you kind of are like, yes, I'm pretty sure she gets support behind the scenes, but when you're kind of the only face, you're the voice, so she's probably
Mm-hmm.
also taking the brunt of, you know.
Well, she came out with another, when you say the brunt, she
Mhm.
came out with another post in which she was very suicidal. She said in the actual, I'm have right now as we speak, as I'm
Yeah.
taking this video, I have suicidal thoughts. And so she said, I don't go outside. I don't have a
Mhm.
life out there. I just do what I do. Because
Yeah.
at one point she was afraid, but now she's reached the point where you can't take nothing from her. You
Well,
you
let me
can't
tell
take
you.
nothing from her. So she's like, you know what?
Yeah.
If I'm gonna go down, I'm gonna go down fighting.
Yeah, which I see, and that's what I feel like. I feel like now every time I've seen her, she's been like very obviously very passionate and stuff. But this is the time, the first, like, I think I seen a little bit of the clip that you're talking about, but even the first one where I could see is like, this is really wearing on her. And this is when I knew she didn't give a fuck. I don't want to make light of it,
Right?
but here, when you started to bring up Beyonce, I'm
She had
sorry.
enough. She's
I
had
was like,
enough.
now I know she doesn't care. So anyway, I don't hear. I'll elaborate a little bit more on that comment. Like, again, prayers up to her. I think this is more than. I think it's wearing on her now mentally. Like, yes, this is a fight, and it's tough and everything, but I think it's even now more decided. Like, I hate to use, you like literally seeing somebody break down. Like, and I think, a lot of the unfairness and maybe a lot of the BS that she's had to deal with has, we know that industry, anybody in the entertainment industry, it could take your soul, right? And I
Literally.
think if you put your love and passion in the work you do, so which is for her writing songs, and then you're just constantly pretty much abused and like robbed, yeah, that would take, I'm like, that would take a
But you
lot
know
out
what?
of me.
What I liked about what she said is she
Hmm.
tend not to focus on herself.
Hmm.
She
No, yeah.
focused more on the people that she knows in the industry, and that's another part of it that I want to talk about. But
Hmm.
she had mentioned, her friends that are also songwriters
Hmm.
having to take short, shitty ass deals in order to
Yep.
be able to work with someone like Beyonce.
Yeah.
And I could see that she was passionate for them as well, not
Hmm.
just herself. Like, I think
No, yeah.
it's the injustice of it all.
Hmm.
It's just the injustice. And sometimes it really doesn't matter who falls under that umbrella. It's the fact that it's injustice. This is wrong. It's wrong.
Yeah.
There's right and there's wrong. and this is wrong. And
So
she
to
is
her
speaking
point,
out. Yeah.
yeah, to her point, why she brings up Beyonce because and rightfully so, she brings her up because Beyonce, she says it right at the beginning, is the Michael Jackson of our generation, of like
Hmm.
I would say our millennial
Yeah.
generations. She
Very
is
influential. Yeah. Hmm.
without a doubt. And but that also means she has the potential power to change some of the mechanisms, AE the system of the
Yeah.
music industry. But she goes on to cite, oh, Tiffany read. Then following that, she goes on and describes the story of her friend. One of her friends is actually one of their songwriters on Cuff It, a massive song on Renaissance, right?
Right. Hmm.
One of the rare R&B songs on there. And so, despite that, she said the song was already mostly assembled by the songwriter, and despite that, Beyonce got 25% of the publishing rights
Why?
for that track off the bat. Like there are artists who
You
off the
didn't
bat,
write it though. You didn't write
yeah,
it.
yeah. So, but there are some artists that it's even 30%. Like, so Beyonce got 25%, and that's the agreement. Like, if you're gonna work with somebody like a star like Beyonce or Usher or any of those big upper echelon
Hmm.
artists, you're gonna the premium to work with that level of artist is 25% of your share of the songwriting is going to go to the artist, which I agree is really unfair. And she is calling on Beyonce to change that practice. And if she changed the practice, she has enough influence where that could
Hmm.
change the practice of like the B, C, D listers in the
Right.
industry.
Well,
And what
she
she
was
calls
saying the B, C, D, E, F, G.
mm,
Everybody is using the songwriters.
yeah,
Like they are
and
so
and I
below.
hate to
Like they're
say it,
under. Yeah.
I
Hmm.
hate to say it, one of the D-listers in the music industry, she's not a D-lister at all, but in a celebrity world, she's an A-lister, but in music, Zendaya.
Yeah.
Zendaya has a song called Replay from a few years back, and I don't know if it was her who wrote it or if it was somebody else she was calling out. I think she might have done, I think Zendaya, she did Replay, Tiffany Red did Replay, and she had to give Zendaya 10% of her writing credit.
Why? He
Zendaya
didn't
had
write
nothing.
it.
She never met her. She never did nothing. But Zendaya automatically got 10% of that writing credit, and she
You know
wrote
what
nothing
was
of it.
what's really screwed up that I heard? So
Yeah.
with Biggie's publishing
Hmm.
for his songs, do you know
Yeah.
that Diddy's Justin
Hmm.
Justin Combs has publishing rights?
His son.
Before he was even a thought in his daddy's nutsack, he had
Woo.
publishing
Hmm.
rights to Biggie's songs.
Hmm.
I couldn't believe that. I was flabbergasted. I said, "What? This boy before he was even born, he had publishing rights? What?" So this is crazy. So this industry, I mean, we already know, we see, with everything that has been happening as of late, how wicked it is.
Well,
But
here's the other side.
like to take someone's music and to have publishing rights on it,
Yeah,
and you didn't
I
do a
know.
goddamn thing,
But
really?
here's the other side of it. Like some comments, some people weren't very, let's say, as empathetic as us. And so one of the top comments on that video is if you don't want to if you don't want to give Beyonce 25% of your publishing, then don't sell your song to Beyonce. Go sell it to Lumity, which is shade. Beyonce isn't forcing you to work with her. You don't want to write for Beyonce because it's Beyonce. Sorry, you want to write for Beyonce because it's Beyonce, and that is why she gets publishing the most. Like, so I don't agree with this.
I don't agree with it.
I
Sorry.
don't I don't agree with this, and I think it's just a bad, what I really think is a bad practice that has been in the industry for too long. And again, that is what Tiffany Red is advocating for. And I think she just got to the crux where it was just so ridiculous that she's like, F it. I'm gonna call out the one person who can change this. And that was very brave of her, but obviously we could see to the detriment of herself because Beyonce has an intense fan base. So it's
She
like
does. But what I will say to that particular commentary that people are having is,
Mhm.
if that were the case, we wouldn't have a Beyonce. If that were the case, we wouldn't have half of these artists that you call your faves. They have
Mhm.
songwriters.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So without those songwriters, they wouldn't be who they are now. So miss me with the bullshit, but oh, don't work with Beyonce. Listen, these songwriters have a right to their creativity. They have a right to the time and effort that they put into making these songs. I don't know if you've ever created anything. Sometimes it takes a lot of brain power. It takes a
Of
lot of
course.
brain power. It takes over who you are at times. And so, and your life and aspects of your life. So miss me with the bullshit, because then we wouldn't have music. Like, please.
I wanted to
Okay?
ask your opinion on the money. So Money Long was on Breakfast Club, and
Mhm.
I actually recently watched a short little YouTube documentary on her. Like I knew she changed. I forgot her old name. I know she did a rebrand to become Money Long
Mhm.
in the past few years since the pandemic, where she really popped off. But she shouted out Tiffany in her interview with the Breakfast Club. Oh, her name was Priscilla Renee. And here's the story. Here's where it sucks for a songwriter in particular, in that Priscilla Renee was her own artist, and maybe she didn't fit the aesthetic of
Mhm.
what a label wanted to put all their attention to and everything. But one thing they knew is this girl can write a damn song, right?
Right?
And they continued to use her and use her and use her to the point where she was so unhappy and depressed, because she's like, I'm giving my songs away. These labels will only mess with me if I'm writing songs for somebody else. They won't give me attention or resources so I can be an artist for myself.
Right?
And it's a bittersweet story to me. I mean, everybody can do what they want with their body, but why I feel it bittersweet is that she literally had to change up. To me, I mean, if I look at old pictures of her, I can tell it's her. But she looks very different than when she
Mhm.
did when she was like an artist before she kind of rebranded. Like, I know she has lupus. Maybe
Mhm.
I don't know if that's the reason why she's just a lot more slimmer. And I
Mhm.
do think she definitely had a nose job to have a more non-black. I would say her nose
Wow.
does not look as black as it used to be. I don't know
Mhm.
how to describe it, but she has a different nose. Let's put it that way.
Right, right, right.
And now I don't know if that's what made her more visually acceptable, but we've heard her. She's been every song that she's released since the pandemic. I'm like, damn, this girl can write a catchy song,
Right?
right? And it's like now she's gone independent, and she's been kind of doing it on her own.
Right?
And it's sad that she literally had, but that's the sad part, is like it's great now she's a songwriter writing for herself, and she said, I would never. Somebody was asking her, Charlemagne was like, would you ever write songs again for another artist? And she was like, honestly, I never say, she said, never say never, but nah. Like, pretty
Right?
much, which when I think of her story, like, no, because it literally drained you and you felt like people were using you for your talent, and they never allowed you to kind of emerge as your own artist. It's like, I think she was clearly happy writing songs, but now you never kind of gave her that chance to shine on her own. So yeah, keep your songs, girl.
Right?
But
Yeah,
it was
and I
just an
think
interesting.
there needs to
Mhm,
be more people that band together with Tiffany Red
mhm.
and Moni Long, and really expose the industry for what it is, and keep your songs for yourself. Keep your songs
Yeah,
for yourself,
until it
and
changes. Yeah,
until it changes, and there has to be maybe a boycott of songwriters,
yeah, yeah.
because I think that will change a lot. We don't need necessarily, yes, going the Beyonce route would be easy peasy. But sometimes you have to fight for what's worth it. And
Mhm.
in this case, I feel like you have to go beyond Beyonce. Like, this is bigger than Beyonce.
It is clearly bigger than
It
Beyonce. Yeah.
is. It's bigger than her. I know that she could make a difference, but
Hmm.
it is bigger than her. And maybe you need to be the artist. You need to be the artist that not only creates the music but sings it as well.
Yes.
And so maybe if there are more and more people doing that, or at least coming together in some sort of a union with each other of songwriters. I believe there are a few songwriter unions,
Hmm.
but they're not they're
You're not
not
advocating for
they're not
this
doing
particular
anything,
cause. Yeah, this cause is like
right?
very particular. Yeah.
Exactly. And so it is sad to hear that, they're taking these people like it's when you write a song or you write a book or you write, a play, it takes a piece of you because within your writing there is a piece of you, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And so to know that someone is just taking that, using that, getting rich off of it,
Mm.
setting generational wealth,
Mm.
and here you are struggling, to pay your rent or struggling to, get from point A to point B in your car. Like, I'm just saying that there has to be something that can be done. And I'm glad that Tiffany Red has blown the whistle. My girl blew the whistle. Okay. And she has brought a lot of spotlight. And, I can see strategically it made sense to use a name like Beyonce to call attention,
Mm-hmm.
which it has. You know, it has caused a lot of attention. And hopefully something will be done. And especially for Tiffany Red, who said that she will be suing Diddy and everybody that he knows. Okay. All of his many businesses, Bad Boy, all of it. She's suing everybody. And I hope she succeeds. And I hope a new precedent is set with her, suing such a mogul for
Mm.
her music, which rightfully is theirs. It
Mm.
is theirs. And it's only a greedy ass mother who is going to take publishing when you know that's the only way they eat. You know that's the only way they eat,
Mm-hmm.
you know? But one thing I felt that was really funny was Tiffany. She said, these Grammys don't pay the mortgage.
No.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Grammys don't pay the mortgage.
She has plenty of Grammys.
Right? So, you know, I can appreciate that she's done this, and it's really shined a light on the music industry in a different realm. We always look at the superstar and all of the nonsense that they're up to, but now it's behind the scenes that we need to really concern about because these people are being used and abused and dashed away. And it's really disgusting. And so, with all that said, we hope that Tiffany, girl, you're going through it. I see.
Mm.
I hope you get the help that you need to fight this fight. Moni Long, go ahead, girl. I know you
Go
had to
ahead, girl.
change who you were in order to do what you love, but now you're doing what you love. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And hey, to each their own. And so, with all that being said, we do hope that your hearts and minds were activated on this week's show. So, whether you lead with your heart or your mind, stay passionate and thoughtful.
Bye.